Hey guys, what is going on? And this is episode 3, or chapter 3, of my fanfic reading. This chapter is called The Celestia Dam Gala Tickets from Tartarus Part 2. Without further ado, let's get to it. Dusk stared at Pinkamena unblinkingly for the longest time. Finally, he burst out laughing. This was the greatest prank he had ever seen in his life. His sides ached from giggling. Soon he noticed that Pinkamena was completely silent, contempt still in her eyes. His laughter died down as the way Pinky was joining him. And the way Pinky was joining him was leaving him feeling a little awkward. He cleared his throat. Okay, Pinky, that was a pretty good one. Now let me go. Pinkamena was instantly thrown into rage, punching Dusk with every syllable. I smack, thought smack, I smack, told smack, you smack, my smack, names smack, not smack, Pinky smack, kapow. Dusk broke once again into tears. My nose is bleeding, he sobbed. Don't be a wuss, Pinkamena muttered. Where am I? He asked. In the cake's basement, she answered. She opened Dusk's mouth, seeing with satisfaction that she'd broken a few teeth. All right, you've had enough. Now, do you want to get out of this hellhole alive? Yes, said Dusk urgently. For the love of Celestia, yes. Then answer my questions, she simply put. Yeah, right, loser, she thought, like I'm letting you go that easily. First thing, what does Pinky Diane Pie look like? Dusk blinked in confusion. What? He said dumbly. In response, Pinkamena slammed a hoof in the wall Dusk was strapped to, putting a hole in solid concrete. What country are you from? She snapped without missing a beat. What? What? Ain't no country I've ever heard of. They speak Equish and what? What? Dusk repeated. Equish, mother clopper, do you speak it? Pinkamena barked. Yes! Then do you know what I'm saying? Yes, Dusk said, hyperventilating. Describe what Pinky Diane Pie looks like. What? You're not making any... Say what again? She interrupted, not giving Dusk any time to think. She picked up a stainless titanium crowbar from the floor. Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, mother bucker. Say what? One more moon vanish time. She's pink, Dusk said, his mind racing. She has a poofy mane. Does she look like a tree? Pinkamena said, now with a grin of psychopathic glee in her face. Dusk couldn't resist. What? He said, squinting his eyes a little. Pinkamena said nothing in return. She just used the crowbar to whack his captive where the sun don't shine. Does she look like a tree? She repeated slowly. No, Dusk squealed like a pig. Then why are you trying to buck her like a tree, Dusk? Pinkamena returned to a perfectly squeaking voice. As if they were discussing nothing more important than the weather, Dusk could only sputter in pain. Pinkamena waited patiently for his response. Finally, after 10 minutes, Dusk's panicked breathing slowed to a deep breath as Dusk frantically tried to calm himself. Why are you doing this to me, Pinkamena? He asked. Well, it's your fault, she said as she rolled her eyes. Dusk's jaw dropped. What? Whack! My balls! A few days ago. That's just it, Princess, Duskshine said glumly. After discovering what it means to have friends, I have to leave them behind. Friends. That's what Pinky was to Dusk, a friend. Part of Pinky's soul died when she heard those words. She wanted to cry. No, she couldn't cry. She was at a party. It was always Pinky's purpose in life to throw parties. She never felt like she had a chance. It was her cutie mark after all. Had a choice. It was her cutie mark after all, to make every pony happy. She had to please every pony. Not just one pony, which would be selfish. Just focusing on one pony would make everyone else feel left out. And leaving some pony out was the worst thing any pony could do. She knew that. She knew that all too well. I mean, a party meant by definition that had every pony... a party meant by definition that every pony had fun, and she liked seeing every pony have fun. So the only logical solution would be that through parties whenever possible, right? She couldn't afford to stop smiling because that would mean some pony would stop smiling too, and she couldn't afford to be a buzzkill. She just saved Equestria by being very embodiment of laughter for Pete's sake. She had to throw parties all the time. Even if that meant nobody threw a party for her in return. Even if that meant Duskshine would never love her in return, because she was always so busy throwing some party for some pony's relative's roommate's dog's birthday, She always remembered every pony's name in town, but none of them offered her favors or listened to her advice or paid attention to her, and some of those ponies didn't even remember her name. But she always kept on smiling. So she told herself everything would be fine and that she and Dusk would be friends, and nothing more. Even if it was a shit fic, she could go forward to shed tears. She couldn't afford to shed tears. The party must go on. She bobbed for apples. She started a conga line, followed by the bunny hop. She pulled a few party pranks. She played pin the tail on the pony. She even learned that Mrs. Cake was pregnant, so she had a new playmate to look forward to. That night she had fun. Every pony had fun. So when she finally got home, why did she still cry herself to sleep? The next morning, Pinkamena groans as she struggled to wake herself up. Pinky, it's time to get up. Get out of our lazy flank out of bed, she said to her other half. Pinky was unusually quiet. Is this another joke, Pinky? Pinkamena said with annoyance. What did I ever do to get the silent treatment? She continued sarcastically. I'm usually cursed to hear you talking a mile a minute by now. She kicked the blankets in frustration. She then gasped. She had just moved, all on her own. She had been able to move so much as their tail in decades. She tried it another time. There! It worked again. Okay, Pinky, this is a pretty freaky joke of yours. Stop it. You're giving me a false sense of hope. Pinky was stone silent. Finally, Pinkamena flung their body out of bed in a childish tantrum. That enough for you, Pinks? She said, angry, lying in a heap on the floor. Then she saw herself in the mirror, her real self. No, a trace of Pinkie Pie looked back at her in the reflection. Instead, a bitter mare with a long, straight mane stood in front of her mouth, with her mouth hung wide open. Pinkamena searched their mind frantically for any passing thought Pinky had. After 15 grueling minutes, a quarter of an hour of regretting every single time she told the party animal that she wished that she was dead, crying softly as she just sat there and thought as hard as could, Pinkamena at last found Pinky, and screamed in horror. Pinky was just a shriveled up scrap that lay dormant in the subconscious, feeling nothing but a cruel, endless void of pity and self-loathing. Pinkie Pie, speak to me, Pinkamena screamed. Go away, Pinky whimpered. Leave me alone. You have no right to waddle in despair and loneliness, her opposite told her. That's my job, remember? You can't steal my job from me. What the hey am I supposed to do? Suddenly a voice rang out downstairs. You okay, Pinky? Hollered Carrot Cake. I heard you screaming. It's okay, boss, yelled Pinkamena as her mind raced for an excuse. I just have, cramps. Yeah, really bad cramps. Cramps. Oh, he said. In that case, take the day off. I have bigger problems, she thought. Pinky, how did you get this way? What was different about yesterday? But Pinky had already faded into silence again. Was it Nightmare Moon? The elements of harmony clopping with our brains? Like using up all the laughter inside of you? No. Well, what was it? Who was it? Pinkamena gasped in realization. Dust Shine, she hissed aloud. That son of a mule. There was a flicker of recognition from Pinky, confirming Pinkamena's belief. How dare he break your heart? Scratch that. I was the one who warned you about not getting attached to him. Well, I warned you about not getting too attached to any pony, but still, realizing that she was acting too much on emotions, Pinkamena took a page from their psychiatrist anger management classes. She took a deep breath and counted backwards from 10. Look, she began, I may hate you, but it crushes me to see you like this. What can I do to bring you back? All quiet on the Pinky front. Fine, she pounded, infuriated that she was rejected. I'll do it my way. Then she paused. What was her way, exactly? She had years and years of experience as a voice in Pinky's head, but it felt like an eternity since she did anything without her. Focus, Pinkamena, she meditated. The solution honestly has to relate to the source. Now, what can I do with old Dusky? She tossed around ideas, rejecting one after. Talk to him? He's as thick as a brick, and sharing feelings is what led to this mess. Kill him? Too simple, and Pinky would never forgive her. Rape? Forcing him to pleasure them would both leave Pinky guilty, and it just made Pinkamena sick to her stomach. She hated boys, because all of them were perverts, and she hated being touched even more. Then Pinkamena had the most brilliant idea of her life. Revenge. She wasn't going to kill him, but when she was done with him, he was going to wish that she did. She began to plan out every detail of the slow, painful torture, and for the first time in a long while, both halves of herself. Pinkamena truly smiled. Present time. Pinkamena, said Dusk, his voice full of sorrow and guilt. I had no idea. Trust me. I had no intention of hurting Pinky's feelings. He'd always suspected that Pinky was a little unstable, to say the least, but he never had a thought that she was suffering from depression, was hiding a case of multiple personality disorder, or that she could take one little comment from him so personally. In short, he never felt so bad in his life. Of course you don't understand, Pinkamena scoffed. No pony understands. Why do you think she has me? Tears were now streaming down her cheeks. Pinky? Dusk pleaded, trying to reach out to her other self. He knew what he had done in the name of Celestia. He prayed, please listen to me, because I've never felt this sorry for any pony, and I want you to forgive me. Pinkamena raised her hoof to beat him again. I told you not to call me. Would you go to the gala with me? He finished. Pinkamena froze in the blink of an eye, at a pace that was downright disturbing to a passing bystander. Pinkamena's mane poofed up in her bright pink curls, and a goofy grin was plastered on her face. Pinkie Pie was back, and better than ever. Oh my gosh, Dusky, do you really mean it? She blurted out at her usual super speed pace. I was thinking that you would totally snuff me and bring us all instead, but this is so better than canon. I cannot wait to tell Carrot Cake and Cupcake and Berry Punch and Derpy and Ditsy Doo and Vinyl Scratch and Scootaloo and Pinky and Little Pip and that one statue that's supposed to be Discord but then hasn't been freed yet. Pinky, Dusk coughed. Yes, best boyfriend ever? Said Pinky. Please untie me, he requested. Silly Dusk, Pinky giggled. You could do that yourself. The sedatives wore off halfway during the flashback. What? Whack! My balls! Sorry, reflex. Here, let me kiss it. Dusk paused for a moment. No! Aw, pouts. Forget Dusk. He was such a party pooper. Anyway, let's celebrate with my version of the gala. The Grand Galloping Gala was as always, boring. I mean, really, really boring. Like, teeth-grinding boring. The orchestra never knew any good songs, the guests never sang along, and who even still dances the waltz anymore? All of a sudden, Pinkie Pie and Dustshine, partners in partying, burst through the doors. And by the doors, I mean we got a wrecking ball to crash the wall open. I pulled out my megaphone and addressed the screaming party guests. What? It doesn't matter why they're screaming. Attention Canterlot, I announced with gusto. The party revolution has arrived. No longer will you be oppressed by slow dull music, brainwashing you into thinking the Pony Pokey is just for foals. Go, be free while I do the honors of dropping the bass. I then pulled some flippin' 6 speakers out of the hammer space and blasted Octavia's band into oblivion. This is the greatest party any pony's ever thrown in record history, Dusk yelled over the blaring music. I know, I called out, beaming boldly. And I couldn't have done it without you. Even though we'll probably get arrested for this and end up going on the morning news, I'm sure everything will turn out okay. You know why? Why? Because I'm doing it with you, I said softly. Now, come on, we still haven't converted the royal washing machines into hot tubs. Every pony knows it's not a party until you do that. Pinky went on and about how super duper amazing the gala's going to be, and Dustshine went upstairs. When he did, he saw Spike standing at the door. Spike! said an extremely shocked Dusk. Where have you been all this time? Well, explained Dusk, I was riding on your back when Pinkie Pie here sprang out of nowhere and clocked you out. I started screaming, but then she told me that I was some kind of new surprise party, where you knock the guest of honor unconscious and drag him to the party place where he wakes up. He shrugged. It's apparently supposed to be all the rage in Hoofington, but then you wouldn't wake up for like ever, so she gave me this awesome box of cupcakes to pass the time. Do you want one? They have real sapphires in the icing. Dusk eye twitched. Are you okay, Dusk? Spike said innocently. Didn't you enjoy the party? You don't want to know, his surrogate brother replied with a shaky voice. He pulled the baby dragon close and whispered in his ear, making sure that Pinky, and especially Pinkamena, couldn't overhear them. Just don't trust Pinky when she seems upset, especially when she redoes her mane. What are you whispering about? Asked Pinkie Pie, popping up beside them both. Gah! Exclaimed Dusk. Nothing, he stuttered. Nothing at all. Absolutely nothing in particular at all, and definitely not anything you need to be suspicious about. Okie dokie, Loki, she smiled cheerfully, not revealing any sign of her dark side. Just be sure to include me next time you're talking about nothing. Those conversations are like the most interesting talks ever. I mean, there's this one time I talked to Dorothy about nothing, and it lasted for hours and 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 hours. As Pinkie Pie rambled on, there's supposed to be like 3 more lines of hours there. As Pinkie rambled on, Dusk and Spike realized that neither of them had lunch yet, and decided to resume the walking to the restaurant they planned on going to. As two colts placed their order of food, Pinkie was still stuck in her loop, and it was getting on their nerves. Her voice was like a sledgehammer, pounding into not just the ears but the mind as well, burrowing into their retinas until it bored past their spinal cords and soared up into the sky forever and ever. Amen. And hours 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 and hours. Pinkie! Yelled Dusk out of expiration. Yes? Dusk held his breath for the moment before speaking. Do you think it's time to change the subject? He suggested. That's what I said Pinkie. Pardon? That's what I said to Derpy. Don't get me wrong. I like conversations about nothing as much as the next mayor. But Derpy was the one doing all the talking. You won't believe how much that Pegasus loves to talk. She never knows when to shut up, and honestly, it's that most annoying trait in the world. She paused for a moment. Dusky Wusky? Yes, Pinkie? Please stop slamming your face on the table. It's getting kind of wobbly. Seriously, what did that table ever do to you? Duskshine stopped, simply resting his forehead on the table counter. This is more torture than Pinkamena can ever dish out, he thought as a migraine formed in his skull. I wish there was some savior from heaven above that could help me escape from this Tartarus on earth. Darling, darling, called out the flowery voice of Rarity. I heard that you were attending the Grand Gala in Camelot, and that you were saving an extra ticket. Oh, that's the sweetest thing anybody's ever done for me. You're such a gentlecolt. I take it back, he regretted. This is worse. This is easily 10 times worse. Please don't let Pinkie hear that. My flank can't take another beating. Actually, Pinkie piped up, Dusky's taking me to the... Like I said, this is the sweetest thing any pony's ever done for me, Rarity said, the exact same tone of voice. Oh, I can see it now. At the gala, where Rarity's dreams come true. We would enter the ballroom with only grace and dignity that only a royal couple should have. All the nobles would gawk in awe as the one and only Prince Duskshine swooped in and stunned them all with his presence. Of course, every pony in the room would know who you were, but who would be the fabulous mare beside you, who danced with you, cared for you, completed you, and complimented you in every single possible way and more. Why, it would be little old me, darling. None, not that wench who tried to rape you, my dearest. How dare that little worm steal your first kiss? I don't care if she was Celestia's long-lost sister. I don't care if it was her party, and I don't even care if she was alone on her precious moon for 1,000 years. No pony touches my... Sorry, that was uncouth of me. Now, where were we? The part where you take me instead, Spike said hopefully. The part where I rip your throat out, growled Pinkie, now fully transformed into Pinkamena. Ugh, said Dusk, his face still planted in the table. My horn is stuck. The ballroom, of course, darlings. The two of us would be envy of all of Camelot, and Luna, dressed in our custom-made evening wear that I designed myself, and by the stroke of midnight you would lean down on one knee and pull out a 24-carat perfect-cut diamond resting on a classic solid gold ring. I would read the question engraved on the inside of the ring, and a single tear would roll down my face. Of course I would answer, with the utmost ladylike dignity. Our wedding would be attended by every pony within miles, and with a royal wedding. Please forgive me, darling, but I've already taken the liberty of picking out what our foals' names would be. Don't worry, my love. I'll keep you in the dark about it, just to make it a surprise. Oh, we're going to be super happy together. Pinkamena just sat there scowling. Fat Chancey overbearing fuck, she cussed. Oh crap, I completely forgot to read the first part. I'm guessing that's fuck. F-U-C. Yeah. Pinkamena just sat there scowling. Fat Chancey overbearing fuck, she cussed. True, she hated Dusk to the bone, but she put her blood, sweat, and tears into threatening him and hooking up with Pinkie. And the slut was just going to take that away in one fell swoop. I ain't letting you get it with a hoof's length of him after what I've just heard. What did you call me? Rarity gasped. The F word is the most foul for a lady. Come on, Dusk, we're leaving. I can't. said Dusk simply. What? Said Rarity, shell-shocked from what her ears just told her. Am I not good enough for you? She whined. No, I literally can't. My horn's stuck, and I haven't paid the bill yet. Hey, I haven't even eaten yet. You're taking Pinky out for brunch? Rarity inhaled dramatically. How could you? I thought we had something special. I think we could have something special, interjected Spike. Shut the buck up, Spike, both mayors said simultaneously, forcing the dragon to back down. Hearing the commotion, a waiter charted up to the table. Is there a problem, mademoiselles? He spoke up with a thick accent from France. He had no idea what kind of chaos was about to overtake his restaurant. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. That's like the third time I've heard that. No, said Pinky Mina through gritted teeth. Is there a problem, Rarity? I don't believe so, hissed her nemesis. Actually, said Dusk, about to explain the situation. The two arguing ponies whipped their gaze at him, daring him to speak. Could you get my horn out of this table? He finished meekly. Of course, sir, the waiter answered. After pulling with all of his might, the staff member got Dusk out of his physical predicament, leaving him to die in his social one. If that is all, your meal is ready. He then suddenly realized something. Oh, how rude of Moy. Moy? Moy? I see that you have another guest. Well, what will the white unicorn be having? Just water, please, Rarity said politely. She narrowed her eyes. I don't plan on staying long. Really? Retorted Pinky Mina passive-aggressively. You seem to have planned a lot today. With every word of the cold, uncomfortable situation, Dusk felt himself sinking a little lower at his seat as his grave was also being dug a little deeper. I'm dead, he gulped. I'm deader than dead. I'm more screwed than a twister on a merry-go-round. How did I end up in this mess? Why have you forsaken me, Celestia? What did I ever do to deserve this? Was that one time I got an A- instead of my traditional A+++++? Cut me a break. I hated myself for a week because of that. And what's that supposed to mean? Snapped Rarity as soon as the waiter was out of earshot. You named your future foals with Dusk? What the hey does that mean? Pinky Mina said. Who the hey does that? Sorry. Pinky Mina said, disgusted at the fashionista. Actually, that was kind of creepy, Dusk muttered. Oh, really? It's creepy to have dreams, Rarity said, her eyes were two blazing balls of fire. Don't hurt me, he flinched. Oh no, said Rarity as her voice suddenly switched to sweet, loving tone. I wouldn't think of hurting you, my sunshine. You know what? Thinking back, I suppose I could have been a tad subtler when mentioning you my intentions. Tell you what, I'll forgive you for this little mistake, and I'll bury that hatchet with Pinky here. We'll even have a fresh start, and I'll treat you like the proper equal, not some last pair of cute shoes in a sale. Dusk raised his eyebrow at this. All you have to do is kindly give me that ticket. She smiled eagerly. Over my dead body, proclaimed Pinkie Pie. Be careful what you wish for, Pinky dear, remarked Rarity, casually bending a fork via telekinesis, not to be outdone. Pinky Mina mangled her own fork with her bare hooves. Don't call me Pinky, she warned. And why not, Pinky? Smirked Rarity. A cruel iciness coated her voice. Did I strike a nerve? Without wording, Pinky Mina's coat turned a bright pink once more, and her mane exploded into wild curls like popcorn kernel, as Pinky returned into control. Of course not, Rarity, she said as her lips twisted her grimace into a forgiving smile. If there's one thing Granny Pie taught me not to do other than giggle at the ghosties, is to turn the other cheek, especially for a friend. Dusk and Spike let out a collective relief. Even though Dusk was a little more familiar with Pinky Mina than Spike was, the baby dragon felt the unrelenting tension of the predicament nonetheless. Thank Faust that's over, they both thought. Neither of them had any idea what triggered Pinky Mina to retreat back into Pinky's subconscious, but they were nevertheless filled with gratefulness for Pinky. For her always positive attitude and the ability to look at No Pony with disdain. But something was still wrong. Pinky showed a little too much pure joy, almost like that she was hiding something. Whatever it was, Rarity didn't seem to notice. Why, thank you, Pinky, the fashion designer said with smug pride. I knew you'd see it my way. It was then Pinky unexpectedly took her meal of Daisy Burger and hay fries and then applied it directly to Rarity's face. Mustard and pickles dripped from the beautiful unicorn's features, ruining her makeup. The hay fries stuck in her mane in random places, giving her the appearance that she was unflattering, humiliating, and rather ridiculous. So, said Pinkie Pie, her tone as innocent and cheerful as ever, truly never showing any sign of Pinkamena. Did that strike a nerve? And that is the end of Chapter 3. Alright, Chapter 4 will be here around soon, so I'll see y'all later. See ya.